Before I start this session, please let me know how many of you are very new to Java, because Java is the prerequisite of this course.
I know basics of Java, but just created some fundamental programs. Is it mandatory to learn Java for Selenium?
Selenium is just an API written in Java and ported in many other languages. It's not mandatory to learn Java for using Selenium, but all examples of this course are written using Java itself. So to gain maximum learning from this course, it would be better to learn Java from our library and come back to this course. But I suggest you should still attend this course, as this will provide you idea of what Selenium is, and after learning Java, you can still repeat this course. This is always a good strategy for learning new skills.
Any other prerequisite for learning this course?
No, not much. This is a simple tool for automating whatever you can see on any browser. That's all.
I'm very much new to this tool. Would you please explain what it is?
Yeah, sure, why not? This session is all about learning introduction to this tool. However, before I start the introduction part, let's see how much you guys already know about this tool. So I am going to ask some very simple questions, and you just have to answer them. Right or wrong doesn't matter. So let's start with the most basic question. What is Selenium?
I guess it is a tool to automate test cases.
Test cases? Are you sure?
Yes, that's why I'm learning Selenium.
Okay, then what type of test cases you are talking about?
UI test cases.
Okay, but first of all, let me clear out this confusion from everyone. Selenium is not something which you think only about testing. There is no direct relationship between a test case and this Selenium tool. When we write a test case, we use numerous tools or APIs to implement our logic. Selenium is just one of those tools. We can still automate our test cases by using some other tools. However, the sole purpose of Selenium API or library is to automate the UI interaction.
Can you explain in more details?
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's start with the manual testing. Assume you have cleared interview of Facebook.com and you got a task to test login functionality of Facebook. Now, if I write the simplest test case for this requirement, then it will be: first, open browser; second, open Facebook.com; third, enter correct username; fourth, enter valid password; fifth, click on submit button; and finally, sixth, verify user's page opened or not. So if we see closely on these steps, the first 5 are the navigational and UI interaction steps, and the last one is verificational step. It means whenever we write UI test cases, we need to navigate to a point which we need to test. In this case, it is the login page itself. So when we test UI of the application, we do all this stuff manually. That is, we navigate, interact with the UI, and also verify the result manually. After verification, we mark our test cases as pass or fail and provide our observation in comments. But if we want to automate the same scenario, we need some library or tool which can interact with the browser automatically. We implement our step and the tool automatically do all the stuff. So we need to automate first navigational part, second UI interaction part like clicking over a button or entering username, and third verificational part. All these steps should be inside a test case. Selenium is the API or library which can handle UI navigation and interaction. That's it, nothing else. So if we have some other tool which can do the same thing, we can use that as well. However, our test case remains same. It never changes. Only its implementation might change. In this course, we are going to understand how to use Selenium to automate UI interactions. Once learned, you can use it where there is a requirement to interact the UI automatically.
Okay, you mean to say, there are some other applications of this API as well?
Yes, indeed. I have seen DevOps use it for automating their infra-related tasks. Sometimes support team use it to upload or download files from the UI. So we can use Selenium when there's a requirement to automate any repetitive task of web UI interaction.
Okay, I got it.
Cool then. In this session, we will take some light topics and learn the history of Selenium tool and its design. Also, how to use this API in our project. It all started in 2004 when a guy named Jason Huggins at ThoughtWorks created an internal tool for their automation work. They named it as Selenium. Also, ThoughtWorks open sourced this tool in the same year. Some more programmers joined this project and made it more stable and released a new version with the name Selenium RC or Selenium Remote Control. In 2007, Jason Huggins joined Google, and at the same time, another programmer named Simon Stewart at ThoughtWorks created another browser automation tool known as WebDriver. In 2009, at Google Test Automation Conference, both of these tools gets merged to form the tool we know today as Selenium WebDriver. Selenium RC is deprecated nowadays, and the latest version in which we are working is Selenium WebDriver. If we see different tools or components under the name of Selenium, then we have Selenium IDE, Selenium RC or Remote Control, Selenium Grid, and Selenium WebDriver. RC is deprecated and Selenium IDE is of minimal use. So the remaining component which world is using are WebDriver and Selenium Grid. In this course, we will put all of our focus on Selenium WebDriver, as this is the core library which does all the magic stuff. So that was the brief history of this tool to make you comfortable with it. However, the actual experience comes when we do the practical stuff. So let's create a project in this session and run our first automated script. In this project, we are going to use Maven as our build tool. You might or might not be aware of this tool. If not, follow us on this session and then go through the Maven course. It will boost up your confidence.
Okay, but could you briefly describe what is Maven and why we need it?
Yeah, sure. Maven is just a build tool which helps us to build our project artifacts with minimum effort. Apart from this, it also helps in managing dependencies. Just like we are going to use Selenium in this project, we need to add its coordinates in our config file. And then Maven itself handles rest of the task.
Okay, I haven't got all the stuff, but it's okay, please carry on.
As I said, go through the Maven course and you will find yourself much more confident in working with Selenium. Okay, then let's move to create our project with Maven. So open Eclipse, go to File, New, and create a Maven project. Create a simple Maven project and provide group ID. I am providing as com.quatso. Artifact ID, which is your project name, and in my case it is Selenium demo. Click on finish. Expand your project, and as you can see, Maven has created the default structure of the project. Now this is the time to add our Selenium library inside our project. So let's find out Maven coordinates. For finding Maven coordinates, open Google and search for MVN repository. Open Maven repository. Let me search for Selenium. Click on Selenium Java. Take the latest version and copy Maven coordinates. Go back to your pom.xml and create a dependency section. Inside this section, just paste your dependency and save your pom.xml. As you can see, Maven have started downloading this file. Once the downloading is completed, it will add the jar file in our build path. Now downloading is completed, and we can say it's quite simple process. Maven has added a dependency in our class path. If you can expand Maven dependencies, you will find out a lot of jar files have been added in our class path. These jar files are required for the Selenium WebDriver, but we don't have to take care each one of them. Maven do all those stuff automatically. So without wasting our time, let's create our first script. Our first script is just going to open google.com, and that will be our tribute to Google for contributing to such a great tool. So I'm going to create a package. With name com.quatso.seleniumdemo.app. Inside, I'm going to create a simple class which will contain main method. Let's call this class as app. And inside this class, I'm going to create a main method. Here we want to open Google in Chrome browser. So in order to do that, we have interface called WebDriver, and I'm giving reference name as driver equals to new Chrome driver. Importing both of these types, and then we have to call method driver.get, and this is the URL which we want to open. So http www.google.com. So only these two lines of code are required to open a web page in our browser. Don't worry about that at this moment. We will explain what WebDriver is and why we have used Chrome driver instead of new WebDriver and all. We will cover that in later part of the sessions. Let me execute my code and see what happens. So run as Java application. We found our first error. It might irritate you, but my advice is to never get irritated with errors. Instead, try to find out the actual cause behind it. So it says the path to driver executable must be set by webdriver.chrome.driver system property. For more information, there is a link, and for the latest version of this executable file, it can be downloaded from this link. Error is saying WebDriver is not able to find the path of the executable browser file. So let's understand why this problem occurred. If you are working with the latest version of WebDriver, then it requires some executable file to invoke a particular browser. For each browser, there is a separate binary files. For example, for Chrome, there is a chromedriver.exe. For Internet Explorer, there is a iedriver.exe. For Firefox, we have geckodriver.exe. And if you are working with Safari, we also have safaridriver.exe. These binary files are responsible for invoking respective browsers and their automation. In Selenium 2.0, Firefox was the part of the library, but from 3.0 version, WebDriver decoupled the browser part, and we need the executable file to invoke browser at the first step. Now from the message itself, we can download the latest binary file. So let me copy this URL. Now open Google and paste it. Now open the web page, and you can find out there are different drivers depending on the operating system. We have for Linux, we have for Mac, and we have for Windows. I'm going to download for Mac. So click over it, and the downloading has been started. We first have to unzip it and then use this file to invoke Chrome browser. I have unzipped the file and copied it into main resources folder, because if I want to distribute my project, the user should find out the file in my project itself. Now I have to provide the path of this file. So I'm going to create a relative path, giving it as a path will be equals to system dot get property of user dot dir. This will provide my current directory path, and then I'm going to add file separator this syntax will work on any OS because file separator in Linux is different than Windows or Mac. So file separator plus src, again file separator, then main, then one more file separator, then we need resources, and final file separator, and then finally name of the file, which is Chrome driver. Okay, this is the relative path of our executable file. If you are working on Mac or Linux, we need to change the name from Chrome driver to chromedriver.exe. So let me refactor it and rename as chromedriver.exe. It's now renamed, but if I execute it now, you will find another problem. Now we have the executable file. We have to provide this path to WebDriver. As given by the error, we should set this property. So I'm going to set the property, set system property as system.setProperty WebDriver.chrome.driver, and the path is this. So here we have provided the path of Chrome driver executable file. So let me re-execute and see what happens. Save my file and go to main, run as Java application. Now we have another problem. The problem is, okay, right now chromedriver.exe, I forgot to add name. Let me re-execute. Now we got one more problem. The problem is driver is not executable. If you're working Mac or Linux, you have to provide permission to execute this file. So in order to provide permission, we know the command open terminal and go to the path of chromedriver.exe. So I'm going to copy it from here. And we have chromedriver.exe. So I'm going to use chmod, providing 755. It means it is executable by groups and others, and the name of the file is chromedriver.exe. If we see the permission list now it is executable by owner, group and others. So go back to your Eclipse and now re-execute the code. Okay, now it is executed and opened google.com. So that's it. It's quite simple. We just witnessed our first automation script just by using 4 lines of code, right? So that's the end of introductory session. We learned what Selenium is and how to use this library in our project. In the next session, we are going to understand the library first and then how to use its methods to automate different scenarios.